I'm just minding my business.
That's just good business. It is I, Hondo Onaka, legendary pirate extraordinaire. And that is right, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I know that no reward is safe from Hondo, huh? Come, take a seat. Let us enjoy ourselves and say, Scribe, stop being an absolute knobhead. Amazing. Okay, so, Pirate King Hondo, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It turns out that apparently he's been fixed. Not in the way that you fix a cat.
Huh?
You know, before they hit maturity, as it were. In a way that is apparently he wasn't working correctly. I've got some evidence of this. Obviously, other content creators have covered it. We've seen Arnold cover it, and Vextron cover it, and other people have probably covered it. But I wanted to give my 2 cents on the matter, and to say whether or not what we're seeing is legitimate, what we're seeing is right, is good, is golden. That's just good business. So it wasn't too long ago indeed, 2 days in fact, that we saw this post on the forums, and people have been talking about it before then, talking to Pirate King Hondo stealing locked buffs. Pirate King Hondo stealing locked buffs in Territory War. Turns out it's in every game mode. Yet, so he stole a bunch of stuff, don't have any screenshots to fight, yada yada yada. This guy over here says, can confirm, reproduced across all game modes and various teams on iOS. It doesn't really matter. I wonder what the picture is. I mean, that was kind of dangerous of me. So what has he stolen? Yeah, it looks like he... How has he done that? He's put weapons tech on, but he's spread weapons tech to everybody? That doesn't make sense. Is he just spreading stuff that he shouldn't be spreading? Now, that definitely seems broken. I've not seen that before. Anyway, status change. This is EA Gunner. He is from the QV team, Quality and Value team. Quality variance team, quality something team, questionably vague team. Status change new to not a bug. Hondo should be able to steal locked buffs. And then there's a link to this Trello board. Now, this Trello board apparently goes nowhere. Oh, about this board, Pirate King Hondo isn't able to steal all locked buffs when a special ability first. Okay, so I mean, apparently they originally had this as a problem, and it was fixed in June 15th, a month ago. Did it take us really a month? It's over a month ago, 2 months ago, for this to be fixed per se. And we have got evidence of this. It is actually quite clear that he's definitely doing this. I did some own footage earlier today myself, just to check a few things, right? For example, I took in my Pirate King Hondo up against Queen Leia, Princess Leia Organa, Leia General, whatever Leia this happens to be. Galactic Legend Leia Organa. I decided to throw on the Colonel Ward Datacron over here to give myself some additional oomph, basically, to my stats. And there are a number of buffs that exist on the Leia Organa team that you'd think, that's a little bit interesting. So, for example, there's Fearless, that is a locked buff, but also Keen Stratagem, which is a locked buff on Drogon. We use that first special, and you can immediately see that Keen Stratagem is now being passed to our entire team, which is not normally something that can happen. But the reason it's not normally something that can happen is because there aren't many things in the game that can steal buffs. Stealing buffs only came into the game with the pirate faction. And most of the pirates, in fact all of the pirates, have got very limited abilities to steal buffs outside of Pirate King Hondo. For example, Maz Kanata over here, she can steal stealth. Right? Now, if I could test this against New Bad Batch, I don't have an option to test against New Bad Batch at the moment, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure that if we use Mars's second special, she will steal that locked stealth, right? I believe it's a locked stealth on New Bad Batch. Smee, I don't know what Smee has got for stealing. Has he got something? Yeah, okay, this is steal... Health... Oh, no, sorry, that has 1000% health steal. First active... maybe he doesn't steal anything. Can't get bonus to... Maybe Smee doesn't steal anything. Yeah, it looks like Smee doesn't steal anything. He's one of the few pirates that doesn't. Hondo doesn't. It's the new pirates only. But, for example, Captain Athano over here, he will steal defense up and protection up. Now, there isn't really, as far as I'm aware, there are no locked versions of defense up and protection up, so I can't test that. Quiggold, this one I have tested. He does steal locked taunt. So it feels like locked buffs have always been able to be stolen. The problem is, and that's different with Pirate King Hondo, is that his first special will steal all buffs. It just says steals all buffs apart from taunts. Now, normally, the old versions of how we steal, there's never been steal before pirates. They've just had like copy, right, effects. They've always said all non-unique buffs. The prime example of this would be Grandmaster Yoda, right? Grandmaster Yoda over here, he has a first special, Master Stroke. Deals special damage to all enemies, then for each buff an enemy has, Grandmaster Yoda gains that effect. Unique status effects can't be copied. And unique status effects are things like Keen Stratagem and Master's Training and all that sort of stuff. Yoda can still, I believe, steal locked buffs. You know, he also can't steal Taunt, right? And then he can spread them with his second special. So he's kind of got it, but this is not stealing. This is copying, apparently, and those are different effects. In the same way as heal immunity stops you from recovering health, but so does shock. They have similar properties, but they do different things, and you can be immune to heal immunity, but you're not immune to shock. Or taunt is effectively the same as marked, right? They're both taunt effects, they both do the same thing, but they are different things, right? Just like copying is different from stealing, all right? So they're different things, which is why Yoda can't steal things like Keen Stratagem and Master's Training. He can steal other buffs, right? And he can spread those, right? But also Battle Meditation, I don't think spreads unique buffs. Foresight for each ally. Every non-unique buff he has for 2 turns. Yeah, non-unique buff. So he wouldn't spread those things anyway because he doesn't spread those unique buffs. So, like, the wording obviously matters. The only other character that I know that copies buffs is Fulcrum, right? Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, but she doesn't do it for the enemy. She does it for herself, her own team. So she gains Foresight, Retribution, and each non-unique buff, excluding Taunt, present on other allies for 2 turns. So she looks at her own team and she's like, oh, I'll take all of the non-unique buffs, right? So nothing like Keen Stratagem, nothing like Master's Training. And she's going to gain them all to herself, right? So those are the only 2 instances. Before that happened, we've never seen a character that takes buffs. I can't think of another character that steals buffs. Kenobi has got a weird interaction with buffs and debuffs. GK over here with his negotiator, right? He's going to dispel debuffs from allies and grant the opposite buffs. But I don't think anybody else steals buffs or copies buffs. They're very, very limited in application. So the reason this comes as a big surprise is that Pirate King Hondo can now steal literally any buff in the game apart from Taunt, right? Any buff in the game apart from Taunt with this ability. So he can steal all of the weapons tech, the tank tech, the med tech. He can steal Keen Stratagem. He can steal the execute ability from Cobb Vanth, which is kind of crazy, right? Because Cobb Vanth was brought into the game as kind of a counter to pirates. And this High Noon's ability over here, if you check it out, if all allies are Constable, Jawa, or Tusken, they gain buffs at the end of the encounter and can't be dispelled or prevented for each unique enemy attacked by this ability. So as you're spreading High Noons, when you get to the 3rd person, right, you get this execution ability. Your allies will get it, right? An execution, whenever this character uses a special ability, instantly defeat the target and remove this buff from all allies. So execution will apply the 3rd time he has used this ability. The next, all his allies will gain this execution buff. The next time they use an ability, they'll get an insta-kill. Pirate King Hondo can steal execution. He can steal it and spread it to his allies, but obviously the next time somebody does an ability, they'll be insta-defeated and the execution will war off. But it's kind of weird, right? Because Cobb was sort of supposed to come in and counter scoundrel-type factions like, you know, Hutt Cartel and Bounty Hunters and, you know, pirates. Not that he would really counter Pirate King Hondo, I don't think. But it's still funny that you can do an Uno reverse against Cobb Vanth. Now, I personally don't really have a problem with this. Cobb Vanth is, he was a conquest unit that pairs up with old garbage units like Jawas and Tuskens and Cup, for goodness sake, and Lobot and things like that, right? So I get the fact that he's not killing Pirate King Hondo, I'm kind of okay with it, you know, that sort of thing. Now, the more broader speaking thing about this is it right? Should we be stealing all the unique buffs? Not sure. Just a little case in point over here. I decided to test to see if Quiggold would steal locked buffs, and can confirm that he does do it, and he's always done it, right? Well, I assume he's always done it. So I took in, this is obviously Quiggold over here is going up against the JML team at the end of Conquest. Now JML can get locked taunt. You can see it there. Can you see it? Look right there. There's a locked taunt buff on JML, and Quiggold, when he does his basic, will steal taunt from the enemy, right? When he does that. So let's see what happens when Quiggold uses a basic against JML. So we do the mass assist. You can see we've got taunt already on Quiggold, but basic, boom. Look, check it out. He's got a locked taunt. So stealing locked buffs has always been a thing, I think. I don't think they changed it suddenly for Quiggold. I can't find any footage of doing this in the past because it's not a very common thing. Maybe if we went up and we did like a mirror match, or if we had some Mars versus Pirate King Hondo setups, because Vayne starts with locked taunt as well. If there's some footage of that, some old footage, I'd like to confirm that locked buffs were still being stolen, right? So like it's never been the thing that you can't steal locked buffs as far as I'm aware. It's only that unique buff situation that is kind of making things a little bit weird and funky. Now, personally, I think for my own perspective on whether or not this should be the case, I think... All right, Hondo, if you're going to stay there and laugh, I'm going to have to mute you, brother. I think that what I will have to say about this interaction and whether or not we should be seeing Pirate King Hondo stealing every single unique buff is I think we need to see how this plays out over the long term, okay? A lot of the buffs that he's going to be stealing are kind of irrelevant because, for example, you're not really going to take in Wat Tambor to take down a Pirate King Hondo team. I know we did it in the past. We did it like JMK Cat with Wat Tambor, right? You'd place the weapons tech on Cat and then you'd yeet out Vayne, for example. I don't think Pirate King Hondo stealing that buff is going to materially change that matchup. I think you still win that, right? But stuff like being able to steal things like what is it from Bo-Katan Mandalore? The overheat from Paz and Ancestral Resolve or whatever it is. All this sort of things, like these are teams that you wouldn't normally be using against Pirate King Hondo anyway. Now, there's some argument that can be made for cleanups and stuff like that, and should he really be doing that? And I think that depends entirely on the situation. I don't think he's going to... I don't think it's materially going to affect, like, critical matchups, right? I don't think it will materially affect critical matchups, and that's my reasoning behind it. I think it's generally okay. Now, we've only just discovered this, and we've only seen that this is happening now in the game because there hasn't really been a whole lot of coverage about it. Well done, Vex, for spotting it, and then Arnold and stuff for covering it and stuff like that, just to get the word out there, right? But it would be hypocritical of me to have the opinion, and I do have this opinion, and a lot of people know I have this opinion, that Galactic Legends need to be better. They need to be better, generally speaking. The advent of characters like Rotter the Hutt coming into the game, and he's not the first person to come to the game doing this, but Rotter coming to the game will solo Jabba the Hutt. We're a full team of Jabba the Hutt, and you can just take in Rotter, auto, and win against the Galactic Legend for like levels of investment. R10 Jabba will get stomped with his full team versus an R10 Rotter the Hutt, all other things being equal. That to me doesn't make sense. This is supposed to be the pinnacle level of power. This is a conquest, well, it's a legendary unit, sorry, not a conquest unit. This shouldn't happen, in my opinion. In my opinion, you definitely should not be soloing Galactic Legends with a single legendary unit. These teams are supposed to be the best, so therefore I am in favour of things being corrected that put these characters on the level of difficulty that they're supposed to be at. However, if this universal stealing buffs thing does become an unbalancing kind of issue, then I think it probably needs to be stepped back in one way or another. Pirate King Hondo is not the best, most premier PvP Galactic Legend. He's currently being beaten by Siar Maul Malicos. I've had it confirmed inside of my chat earlier today, where somebody used Siar Maul Malicos to beat Pirate King Hondo post this buff. So it is still working, at least to a certain degree in Kyber 1, you can still use those off-meta counters. So I ask the question is, if it is not materially changing the matchup, does it really matter? I feel like any buff to a Galactic Legend that is reasonable should be a thing, in my opinion. Now you can, you know, hoist me up from the rafters and set me afire and grab pitchforks and torches and all that for me. My opinion on this isn't based on, I'm a whale and I've got the latest stuff, therefore I should win. No, it's not. It applies to every single person in this game. If you are a brand new player and you have decided to focus on pushing for a Galactic Legend as your goal, you're like, oh yes, I'm not spending any money, but I've been playing for 6 months and I've really focused on getting GL Leia Organa into my roster because I want to have her as my first Galactic Legend. I've focused farmed her down to the nth degree, and you get her and then she gets beat by Gas, or she gets beat by Inquisitors, or she gets beat by Siamor Malakos, and you're like, but I've put everything into this supposedly highest tier of unit, and I've farmed her and I've pushed on to the next one and the next one and the next one, and I'm still getting beaten one-tapped good banners by people that don't even use Galactic Legends. That doesn't seem right to me. I'm not saying that Galactic Legends should be unbeatable, but they should give you an advantage because they are supposed to be the best things in the game. They should be the best things in the game because they are the most expensive, most costly, most time-consuming things to get. So, that is why I think that Pirate King Hondo, that laughing maniac with the tiny little whatever this thing is on his shoulder, is probably okay having this thing to steal all buffs. I think it could create issues down the line if CG continually choose to introduce buffs to the game, new buffs that are gradually more and more powerful. Eventually it's going to cause us an issue, right? Eventually there'll be an issue. There'll be something like, there'll be a locked buff that says something like, can't be killed, right? Can't be killed until Ben Solo is dead, right? And Pirate King Hondo will steal that buff and you'll never be able to kill him because Ben Solo isn't even on the team and can't die. I'm sure at some point there will be that, so I think that's my big word of caution. We know how CG gets with this when we add layers of complexity to this game. There are unintended interactions that do happen, and that's the biggest issue that I see with this right now. As it stands at this moment, I do not think that this buff, which is in fact just a fix to how he used to operate, will materially impact matches. I don't think. It will make him stronger, yes, it will make him more resilient, but it's closing out counters that don't even exist at this point. Is it going to close out things down the line for Datacrons that are supposed to, rebalance things? It's hard to say right now, guys. It's really difficult to say. I think we just need to tranquillo a little bit, let the game play as it is, and see what falls out. That might not be everybody's favorite opinion that I'm giving, but that's the one that you're getting, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what your thoughts are about this level of buff to Pirate King Hondo. What concerns have you had, and what funny interactions have you seen? Like that guy throwing on that weapons tech onto his team, and it looks like it spread the weapons tech. That opens up levels of stratagems, I guess. That's kind of cool. I would love to see stuff like that, But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to about do it for today's video. If you are looking for some tips and guides on Colosseum and the new strategies that do exist, maybe you should check out this video over here.